Okay, so welcome to your webinar tonight, 3 mindset tools for happiness, results, and power. Um, when I was naming the webinar for tonight, I was like, power. I don't know if that's a good name or not, but really, power just means your ability to get things done, or your ability to see results, or your ability to actually stay in action and do things. If we feel powerless, then we feel stuck. We feel like whatever we do in our life, we have kind of no say, right? So I obviously want you to feel powerful, and a lot of the things we're going to talk about tonight are going to help you feel like you're more in power. So, big center around mindset tonight. Obviously, that's what we've been working on all month. We know that mindset really affects what we eat and how we exercise, so we know that it's really important. And we're going to jump in a little bit deeper than we normally do. Just in the to be totally transparent, next week I'm launching a 10-week mindset makeover product. So it is my coach Jill Coleman's product. She made it. I'm doing an affiliate launch for her, which just means that I've gone through this program and it made a huge change in my life. So a lot of the things that we're going to talk about tonight come directly from that program. Whether or not you guys choose to buy the program is totally up to you. Obviously, I give you a lot of information in the Lifestyle Club. The 10-week mindset makeover is like a product to hold your hand every single day and really help you get into the stuff in your life. So I obviously went through it and had like a 180-degree turnaround with food, with my relationships, with my happiness, all that kind of stuff. So I'll give you lots of information as we go forward, but that's really where I got a lot of this information and how I was introduced to it. Okay, so let's get started. Some good stuff here. So, overview of what we are covering tonight. We're going to have a quick introduction to mindset. I know for a lot of you guys, you know what mindset is, you're familiar with it, which is awesome, but it's always just good to have a little reminder of why it's even important to talk about mindset. What sort of jurisdiction does it cover, and how does it have an effect on us in our life? The second thing we're going to cover tonight, I'm so excited to talk about because it's kind of like the tough love section of the webinar, and that's the reality of fat loss. So, what do you actually need to do to lose body fat? It's like, I'm not sugarcoating it, pardon the pun. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I'm just going to tell you how it is, and then we're going to talk about how you actually stay in action to do that stuff, because we know that knowing is important, but doing is even more important. Then we're going to get into a little bit more of the nuts and bolts between attaining a result and maintaining certain results. So there is a distinction between the two, and we're going to talk about what that actually is. Then we're going to talk about the power of your perspective and how that really defines all of the experiences that you end up having in your life. And then finally, we're going to round it out and finish up with talking about beating your inner victim. So we all play the victim card. Some of us do it more than others. Some of us don't realize that we're doing it. Some of us realize that we're doing it, but just don't know how to get past it. And we're going to talk all about that tonight. So if you're with me and you're excited about this stuff, just click on that hand button and raise it up for me. Excelente. Okay, awesome. I'm going to lower your hands and we're going to get into the good stuff. As always, we'll have time for questions at the end, so I'm not really checking that question box as we go through, just so you know. Okay, so what is mindset? So mindset really does encompass our thoughts, our perceptions, our beliefs about ourselves and our world, and basically our interactions with others. So our mindset determines if we're nice. Our mindset determines if we're mean. Our mindset determines if we're grumpy. Our mindset determines if we put effort into thinking about other people or if we're kind of stuck in our own head. And obviously, you guys know I'm totally not into labeling things good or bad. They just are what they are. But really, our mindset makes up all of the actions that we do. And our mindset determines our reality. So, you know my favorite quote, people live in a peaceful world, hostile people live in a hostile world, and it's the same world, right? We all live in the same world, but we all view it really different. And that largely stems from our mindset and our perceptions. And then really what we're going to talk about tonight is really how our mindset can motivate us or demotivate us. So how do we craft our mindset so that we can keep motivated, week after week, month after month, year after year? Motivation is one of those things that I think that we believe that, there's this secret pill like, oh, I just need more motivation. How do I find it? Motivation is self-created. Motivation happens between one ear and the other ear. So it happens in your head. It's really easy to demotivate yourself. We've all done it, when you're sitting on the couch after work and you're like, no, I don't want to get changed. I don't want to go to the gym. That's you demotivating yourself. We've also motivated ourselves to get up off the couch and go to the gym and work out after a long day. So our mindset will make that easier or make that harder. So when we can find that sort of sweet spot of a motivated, empowered mindset, that's when everything actually becomes easier, and that's when we see consistency. All right, so what are our mindset goals? So really what I'm hoping you guys get out of tonight is to understand that you do have a say in what your mindset looks like. Sometimes it feels like you were just born with your mindset, but you weren't. It was developed over years and years and times of making decisions and thinking things in your life. Or, other people do affect your mindset too, right? But you do, in the end, have a say over what your mindset looks like. Our next goal is to experience the power your mindset has over your life. So that idea, just like I told you at the beginning, of feeling powerful, like we have tons of effort and control and ability to say where our life goes and what we do and what we feel, or feeling powerless, which is like when life kind of just happens to us and we feel more like a victim. And then finally, this idea that when you change the way you think, the things you look at change. So back to that quote of the peaceful people in the peaceful world, the hostile people in the hostile world. How do you go from one end to the other? Does the world change, or does your thinking change? It's your thinking that changes, and then everything that you look at seems to be different. It's actually the same. You just changed your thoughts. So, for me, spending time working on my mindset and my perceptions, or how I perceive the world, has literally changed every single aspect of my life. It's changed my body. It's changed the amount of effort I have to put into exercising and eating well. I actually put a lot less effort in than I used to, and get better results. It's changed my habits. It's changed my perception of how fat loss should be, or how it should happen for me. It's changed my perception of my loved ones, my family, my husband, my friends, and it's really helped me to be happier and experience more fulfillment. So it's like, I just feel like I have to go through a lot less mental aerobics from the mindset lessons that I have learned. So, are you guys on board with that? Do you want to change how you think? It seems kind of scary. Yeah, we got some hands. Nice. Awesome. I didn't really ask you to raise your hand all out. So if you're drinking or writing down, don't stress about it. All right, I'm going to lower your hands and we're going to get right into the good stuff. So the reality of fat loss. So if I was to totally unsugarcoat this and to essentially tell you everything I know about how to lose body fat in a 60-second rant, this would be it. Okay? Eat vegetables, eat lean protein, eat unprocessed carbohydrates, drink water, sleep enough, lift weights, and do interval cardio. All right, the webinar is over. You can go home because that's all you need to know. I'm kidding, kind of. The thing is, this actually is how we lose body fat, right? If we can eat this way and we can drink enough water and we can sleep enough and we can do heavy weightlifting and interval cardio, that's how we see results. You guys are hopefully laughing, not rolling your eyes over there, because the whole point of this is that we know this, but how do we actually do it? How much vegetables? How much lean protein? How much water? How much sleep do we need to get? How can we stay motivated in order to do our workouts? All of these sorts of things. If it was really easy, we wouldn't be here. I wouldn't have a job, right? It is easy, but we make it hard on ourselves. So the thing is, I am going to be relating all of the mindset tools that we're going to talk about tonight back to this reality of fat loss. So I want you to think that when we talk about mindset, it's really easy for us to go like super deep into like the deep insecurities that we have about ourselves or our bodies or all these sorts of things. The great thing about mindset is that food and exercise are like the surface level mindset stuff. You know, like the all or nothing mindset, the weekend mindset where we go crazy on the weekend and we eat tons of treats and then we like get super restrictive on Monday. Those sort of mindsets, right? Like they're more surface. They're still super important. I love talking about them, but that's like the gateway drug to real deep mindset work. So we're going to kind of get into the middle of that stuff. We're totally going to talk about how to relate this all back to doing these 6 things that are here on the screen. How do we make it easier on ourselves, right? Because we know that this is what we need to do in order to see results, but how do we make it something that's lasting and something that's fun and something that we enjoy? That's what we're talking about. Okay, so the traditional sort of coach, trainer, and client relationship that happens all the time, still totally happens, whether it's a good thing or a bad thing, you get to decide, is this idea of comply or die. So it's what I just did to you, right? I said, okay, this is what you do. Eat vegetables, eat lean protein, drink water, lift weights. Okay, go, bye. You know, or I make you a program maybe, and I say, all right, take it, just do it. So it's comply, you do it, or die. You don't get the results if you don't do it. So the idea behind this is that it's a really strict, like just do it approach, just follow what the coach says. It means that you as the client are always reliant on me as the coach and never reliant on yourself. So you have a really hard time dealing with things when you're out of the box, when you're traveling, when you just don't feel like eating the same thing on the meal plan over and over again. So this type of plan totally works in the short term, right? There's tons of transformational programs out there like this. The challenge is that when this type of program doesn't work, or you don't do it, or it stops working because your metabolism changes, that sort of thing, and you don't learn how to deal with that sort of thing and read your own hunger cues and read your own biofeedback cues, it's really easy to just turn around and blame the coach and play the victim card. Like, oh yeah, well, I was doing Lana's program and it doesn't work anymore, right? So at the end of the day, I want you to see this type of program for what it is. It totally works, but it's not a long-term result. And it doesn't teach you anything. It keeps you reliant on the coach, where I want you to be reliant on yourself. I actually want to get out of telling you what to do. Why? Because I don't want you to need me. I want you to feel empowered and feel happy and feel like you have all the control, because that's actually how you see the best results, right? You can see short-term results if I tell you what to do, but the long-term results are when you figure out what exactly you need to do in your life. So when we're talking about attaining results, really what we mean is, for our purposes, losing body fat, so decreasing our body fat, and either maintaining or increasing our muscle mass. Okay, so the old way of attaining results, right? Like if you're saying, okay, in a month I'm going on vacation, I need to lose some weight, I'm going to wear a bathing suit, whatever. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to think this is going to be really hard. So then it actually ends up being hard because I perceive it to be that way, right? Second thing, I feel like I need to use negative self-talk to motivate myself. So I end up falling back into my old habits anyway. The thing with this is that we think that negative self-talk motivates us more to eat healthy and get to the gym, but it doesn't. You just end up doing what you're going to do anyways, which is like sitting on the couch watching TV. The difference is you just bad talked yourself and then you ended up doing what you did anyways. So without the negative self-talk, you would actually be more motivated. Have you guys ever experienced this? Have you ever been like, okay, I just need to like really get mean and nasty with myself. I need to like tell myself how it is. And you kind of say, oh, like your pants don't fit, go to the gym. Or, oh, you're going on vacation in a month, go to the gym. Have you ever tried to motivate yourself that way? Hands up. Anyone? Anyone? Okay, there you are. Good. I have too. I totally have, right? I'm going to lower your hands here. The thing is, that is not a long-term solution to motivation, right? It's a short-term solution if it even does work. Because if it doesn't work, then we just end up doing what we're going to do anyways, which was sitting on the couch, but then we feel bad about ourselves. And we're in this like negative spiral of demotivating ourselves over and over. Whereas if we gave ourselves the benefit of the doubt, practice a little bit more self-compassion and kindness, we would actually be more motivated to do our exercises because they feel good and we like doing them, right? The third thing that we do in the old way of attaining results is we have this idea, like this need, I need to restrict or starve myself in order to see results, right? Totally works in the short term, really detrimental in the long term because that's actually how we end up gaining more body fat when we can't maintain it anymore. And so really this type of behavior leads to binging or throwing in the towel. So it's super ineffective in the long term. All right. So what we know that we need to do is we need a new way of attaining results. I know you guys know this. We talk about this in the club a lot. It's kind of a little bit of review right now. We're getting into the meat and potatoes of it. So here we go. New way of attaining results is this. 3 points here. Number 1, I'm going to enjoy the process because if we want to attain something, we want it to last. We're in attain mode right now, okay? Not necessarily talking about maintain, although it does have some transfer. If I enjoy the process, I will actually continue to eat my salad, continue to take vegetables and hummus for a snack, continue to do the workouts, right? If I hate what I'm doing, it's never going to last. So this new way of attaining results, in my mind, is like the only way. I don't think the old way works at all. In fact, it makes us fatter, unhappy, and just generally resigned from the fact that exercise or eating well is even worthwhile. So we need to see value in changing in order to put in the effort to enjoy the process over time. Secondly, we say things like this: I'm going to do things because I love them and how they make me feel, which leads to instead not hating our workouts, and eating healthy will never be a lasting solution, right? The idea is that hating our workouts and eating healthy never being a lasting solution for us is this idea that we need to hate ourselves into changing. And hating ourselves into changing never works. It's super, super short term. Then thirdly, we say, I am going to find the lowest effective dose of satisfaction foods to prevent falling off the wagon. So remember that little screen there when I said the reality of fat loss is eating vegetables, lean proteins, unprocessed carbohydrates, water, sleep, and strength and cardio interval workouts. That's it. That's what you do. So what can you do to make that something that you can continue doing, and therefore you actually do get to attain a result? You have the satisfaction foods, right? Like the cheese and the bacon and the wine and the chocolate. We know that stuff is not going to get us to our goals if we do it too much. And that's the crazy tipping point, right? Where we have to figure out the difference between maintenance and attaining, okay? So at the end of the day, this is really about practicing radical responsibility. If you're not seeing the results you want and you're like, I'm doing everything you said, I'm doing the 6 things on the reality of fat loss list, and I'm eating my satisfaction foods, like I'm having wine and bacon and chocolate, where do you think you need to start? You need to start at finding that lowest effective dose. Could we have less wine? Could we have less chocolate? Could we have less bacon, right? Still stick with the main pillars that are going to give you results, but we need to show up and own that we're trying, but we're not seeing results. I'm here to help you. I'm not telling you comply or die at all, but this is like the basic where we start. So, what is the difference between attaining and maintaining a result? Okay. The only difference when it comes to mindset between attaining a specific result or body fat loss or weight loss with our body composition and maintaining that body composition is this. The only difference, the amount of focus, energy, willpower, and action we take. Okay? The mindset for attain and the mindset for maintaining are actually the same, right? We still need to think about getting away from all or nothing mindset. We still need to think about getting away from weekend mindset. The only difference when we're trying to lose body fat versus maintain where we are is that it takes more effort, energy, willpower, and action. Okay? So how do we know how to organize ourselves for that? Remember this idea of the willpower pie chart. It means that you have a circle, right? It's a pie chart. All of your effort and all of your attention and all of your energy goes into that pie chart. That includes your relationships, your work schedule, your hobbies, sleeping, food prepping, all of those things. When we're trying to attain body fat loss, we have to spend more time doing food prep, planning out our workouts, putting out our exercise clothing, developing some sweetness strategies when we start to feel cravings come up, right? Because we know that's what's going to happen when we start to find that lowest effective dose, not restrict or cut out sugar altogether, but find the lowest effective dose, and then trying to find sleep techniques so that we can actually get to bed at a good time, all those sorts of things. That takes focus, energy, willpower, and action. When we get to the maintain stage, it takes us less focus, energy, willpower, and effort to maintain those results. The mindset is still the same. We just have to shift our energy and our effort a little bit more when we're in attain mode. So this is the best example I can give you between attain and maintain. I would say that, like for myself, I've probably been following a maintain model for, like a year or something like that. I don't count calories. I rarely count protein grams, sometimes count water, that sort of thing. But the difference for me, like for example, I'm going on my honeymoon in a couple weeks. I am going to start switching into an attain mode a little bit, in the sense that I will probably spend more time cooking food for myself versus like going out to restaurants, that sort of thing, because I'm going to clean up what I eat a little bit more. Right? Or like I'm going to, at the end of the day, instead of have a piece of dark chocolate, I'm going to have some stevia, hot water, and some cocoa powder, right? These are like tiny, tiny shifts that are going to take me a little bit more focus, energy, willpower, and action, and I'll probably see a little bit of change in my body composition, right? Probably not a very big change. I probably would be the only one that could notice it, but that is like the difference between attaining and maintaining, okay? So really, when it comes to our mindset, we want to craft our mindset to stay in action versus going into victim mode, right? Because sometimes we go into victim mode when we're not seeing the results that we want. So the next slides that we're going to talk about have everything to do with getting out of victim mode and into action, because action is how we can attain that specific result that we're looking for. Okay, what do you guys think about that? Hands up if you're on board with this kind of stuff. The mindset is the same for attain and maintain. The only difference is the amount of effort that you put in and time. Cool, awesome. Okay, I'm going to drop your hands down here and we're going to get on to our next slide. So hear me out. It is now my job to convince you that the mindset tools we use to attain a result and the mindset tools we use to maintain those results are the same, right? I've told you that's what I'm going to do, and that's like my challenge over the next few slides. Attainment totally takes more focus, but maintenance is totally not sitting around doing nothing. That's what gaining weight is for. So if you want to gain weight, you can sit around, play victim mode, woe is me, whatever I do doesn't matter, all these sorts of things. I don't have good genetics. I have a slow metabolism. That's like victim mode, right? Attainment requires you to stay in action, and mindset can actually help you with that. So I think mindset is vital for attaining a certain body composition result. And then I always love this idea of maintenance. Maintenance is not settling, right? Settling feels like death, right? Settling is like, oh, nothing I do is going to matter. That is not what maintenance is about. Imagine sitting here, maybe you're 20 years old, maybe you're 40 years old, maybe you're 60 years old. What if I told you that 20 years are going to jump by and you're going to be the same weight that you are today? That is actually a big win. Maintaining our weight is not something that happens in society, right? As a whole, we tend to, as a society, gain weight as we age. It just is what it is, right? Loving reality. That's the way it is. So the ability to maintain your weight for the next 20 years is actually a win. Okay? Think about that. I'm not saying that attaining something is not important or it's not possible. It is. But maintaining is not a bad thing either. Okay. Tool number 1 for tonight. Remember, this webinar is titled 3 Mindset Tools for Results, Happiness, and Power. Tool number 1 is the title of our book this month, which is Learning to Love What Is. So this is a tool. Can we learn to love the way things are? So this is going to be broken down into 2 parts. Part number 1, can you learn to love yourself? Love yourself where you are now, the weight you're at now, the body composition you're at now, the color of your hair now, the tone of your skin now, not tomorrow, not yesterday, but now. The idea behind this, and hear me out here before you get all freaky, achievements do not equal self-love. So what I mean by this is that this idea that I will love myself more if I look a certain way is totally untrue. I think we really hold on to this because when we really, really want something, we think that weight loss equals self-love. Well, if I lose weight, then I will love my body, right? This idea of an if-then statement. If my sister is nicer to me, then I will be happy. If my husband cleans up his dirty laundry, then I will be happy. So basically what we're saying is our happiness is conditional. It's based on a condition. But happiness doesn't work that way. Happiness is like a deep-seated thing that we develop by accepting where we are and loving where we are now. Remember, once again, this is not the same thing as settling. The idea of active acceptance means that we learn to love ourselves now, and we also can change at the same time. Because I think we get scared. We're like, well, if I love myself now, that means that I'm just going to throw in the towel and I'm not going to try and I'm just going to stop caring. It's totally the opposite. When we learn to love ourselves for who we are, be grateful, practice gratitude for all of the things that we have now, it actually becomes so much easier to do the actions for what it takes. Remember the reality fat loss checklist. Those are the actions I'm talking about. So I know, or at least I think I know that a couple of you are probably sitting there and you're thinking, but Lana, that's easy for you to say. You're on this maintain program, right? Like you're already where you want to be. And to me, I do want to laugh out loud because the thing is, I am where I want to be. But I'm not where I am because I lost weight to get here. Because I've been this weight, the weight that I am today, and I've been not happy. I've found, I could be leaner, I could be stronger, I could be more fit, I could be a faster runner, all of those things. And the thing is, I eventually got to the point where I was like, okay, enough's enough. And I'm going to try this whole, love yourself first shenanigans and see if it actually works. For me, it was the big game changer, because the point is that when you learn to love where you're at now, you actually end up making better decisions. You can strive to change your body, but it has to come from a place of love in order for you to be able to stick with it. So it's like this. We think we need to lose weight in order to be happy, but I would actually argue that we have to see how amazing we already are in order to lose weight and keep it off. Because before, I lost weight. I totally lost weight, and then I'd gain it back. I'd lose weight, doing the restrict thing, and then I'd gain it back when I couldn't handle the restriction anymore. So I knew that I had to get to the point of trying it a different way. So accepting where I am now, with exactly how my body looks, the weight that I am, the gray hairs on my head, all of those sorts of things, then it was easier for me to stay in action doing all of the things that I wanted to do. If you've been on a track of not practicing self-love for a really long time, this can be really hard to wrap your mind around. So you don't need to get it today. Don't put pressure on yourself to get it today. It took me years to get to this point. But the idea is that weight loss is not going to fill that desire inside, right? You might be sitting there thinking, no, I actually do really love myself. I just want to lose a few pounds. And that is totally fine too. I just want you to know going in, losing those couple pounds is not going to help you love yourself more. That's just not how it works. Okay? All right. So still in tool number 1, loving what is, but part number 2. So the idea of loving what is that we're really accepting reality. So how do we know something's real? It is what it is, right? Like the sky is blue. Do we get mad that the sky is blue and we get all angry and we get our panties in a bunch and we think about all these things to like change the sky and we get all mad? That's crazy, right? But that's exactly what we do. We get mad at the way the world works instead of accepting the way things work. We try and we complain and we scream and we kick and we want them to be different. So I actually had a really hard time with this specific distinction because I would think about like all of the terrible things that happen in the world and I'd get upset. Like I refuse to accept that it's okay for children to starve and people to kill each other. The thing is, it's not about condoning these actions. It's actually about realizing that things like this do actually happen. And what the hell are we going to do about it, right? Getting mad, angry, complaining doesn't change anything. It's the actions that make the difference, right? The complaining and the anger and the worry, they just make it harder for us to stay in action. So one of the best ways I like to explain why we tend to have a hard time accepting the way the fat loss process is can be really explained by this SCARF model. So there's a book, it's called Your Brain at Work, and it's by an author named David Rock. And in the book, he unveils the SCARF model. So the SCARF model basically describes the 5 basic needs of the human brain. So we're not going to go into all of them. We're going to focus just on 2, the C and the F. So starting off with certainty. Humans crave certainty. So we like to know, okay, if I do XYZ, if I follow this meal plan, what am I going to get? How many pounds am I going to lose? What size of pants am I going to fit into? I will put in the effort if you can give me a certain outcome, if you can tell me what's up, right? The thing is that this is why we love meal plans and we love like diets and we love that sort of thing. We get told what to eat. And it's back to that like comply or die sort of thing. But we know the reality of comply or die. It totally doesn't work, and it does not help you become the master of your own destiny, which is also why it doesn't last. So this is one of the reasons why we tend to fall on and fall off of the wagon. We crave certainty, but we actually need to get comfortable getting uncomfortable in order to see results in the long term. Okay? I know that's a lot to wrap your mind around. We want certainty, but we have to get comfortable not having it, right? I don't know how much weight you could lose if you followed, a specific meal plan. And the thing is, when someone promises something to you, they actually don't know either, because all of our metabolisms and actions and likes and dislikes are so different, right? So there actually is no certainty. We want it, but it doesn't exist. Right? That's just the nature of life. So we can get mad, we can scream, complain, and cry, or we can learn to love the fact that it is uncertain. The fat loss process is uncertain, unfair, and unpredictable. Which brings us to the F of the SCARF model, the fairness part. So we totally get all hot and bothered when we think that things aren't fair, and we actually spend a lot of effort and energy. Remember how you need that effort and energy for attain, right? We spend a lot of effort and energy complaining about the fact that fat loss is not fair, right? Well, so-and-so can eat that. She can eat popcorn and I can't. She can eat, drink wine and see results, but I drink wine and I don't see results, right? The thing is, we want things to be fair, but they're not. So we spend all this effort complaining about it, when if we just accepted the way things are, the fact that they're not fair, we would have all this energy and effort to put back into that effort, action, willpower pie chart to do the things that we actually need to do. So the thing is, when we sit there and we point out how life is not fair, it's exactly the same as us standing there saying, well, it's not fair. I'm just going to stand still and not find a solution for myself, right? We're deflecting and not taking ownership or action for how things really are. Okay, so when we actually end up loving what is, when we actually end up loving reality or seeing the world for what it is or seeing ourselves for where we're at, and we learn to love that, what ends up happening with our mindset? Do we sit on the couch and just eat potato chips forever? No, that's what we do when we're resigned and we're deflecting and we're mad, right? We think, oh, whatever we do is not going to make a difference anyway, so I'm just going to sit on the couch and eat potato chips. But when we really accept things for how they are, it empowers us. We actually step up. We're like, okay, that's what it takes. I know that now. I'm done my pity party for myself. I'm going to take on doing what it takes instead of complaining about it. We create this empowered mindset. We ask ourselves, how can I enjoy cooking, eating, and creating healthy meals? We spend way less energy wishing things were different, and we spend less time complaining about things that are unfair. And we end up being in action more. We do a plan rather than search for a plan or complain about the plan that doesn't work. It's so crazy. So my coach, Jill Coleman, she says, you're either complaining or you're in action. And I love that because we all complain. I complain. It's normal. It's a human thing to do. But when you start to become aware of this complaining or inaction idea, you hear yourself complain and you're like, oh, right, I'm doing that. So if I'm complaining, I'm actively not looking for a solution for myself, right? I know that's totally tough love, and it's kind of like, oh, that's a smack in the face. Like, just help me out. But this is the exact process I went through when I was trying to take responsibility for all of my actions and all of my feelings and all of my thoughts and all of my healthy habits. That for me, I want you to remember, I was totally on and off. I was like gaining 10 pounds, losing 10 pounds, gaining 12 pounds, losing 12 pounds, back and forth for years, for a really long time, spending lots of energy and effort. And I was super unhappy in my life. My relationships weren't great, all those sorts of things. So when I really woke up and got the, saltwater smack in the face and really started to just accept things for how they were, it helped me feel like I could be more responsible and actually do the things that made a difference. Cool. Okay, so what do you guys think? Are you guys liking this kind of stuff? I know it's totally a little bit more tough love than I normally am. Good. Okay, raise your hand if you're liking it. Yes. Perfect. Awesome. Thanks, guys. I'm going to drop your hands down here. Okay. So we're going to move on to tool number 2. So remember, tools for helping us get into this empowered mindset. Tools for us being powerful. Tools for us feeling like what we do and what we think and what we say makes a difference, right? So tool number 2 is your perspective. Your perspective is your greatest weapon. So what this means is that your perspective is going to tell you, yes, I can do this, or no, I can't. Your perspective is going to tell you, my genetics suck, so I'm always going to be feeling this way, unfit, right? Or your perspective will tell you, hey, I can do all these things in my power to make a difference in my life. The difference is that one perspective keeps you sitting on the couch doing nothing. The other perspective gets you off the couch and has you at least trying, right? At least trying to get yourself to the next step. So the thing is, we actually actively choose our perspective, although many of us do this unconsciously. So, you wake up in the morning and you're like, oh, it's snowing, it's cold, this is terrible. You think that that is happening like innately, or that you have no control over it, but you really do. It takes practice. It takes a lot of practice to turn this around, but it's entirely possible. So your perspective is really how you view what happens to you in your life. I love at the very beginning of the Byron Katie Loving What Is book, she shares a quote, and the quote says, it's not about what happens to you in your life. It's about what you think about what happens to you in your life that matters, right? So like shit happens. This is the best way we can put it, right? People die. That sucks. People lose jobs. That super sucks, right? Some people have better genetics for fat loss than others. Some people have, gray hair when they're 10. Some people have gray hair when they're 60. Some people can run faster than others. All of that is just life. That's what happens. But what you think about what happens to you makes up your perspective. And your perspective can be used to drag you down, or your perspective can be used to lift you up, right? And you get to choose. It takes time and practice, but you get to choose the difference between them. So because most people think that perspective is innate, they don't actually realize that it's a learned response, that we actually have control over it. So one of the ways that this idea that perspective is a learned response, one of the ways it's manifested in us is this idea of learned helplessness. Okay, and we all do this on some level, some of us more than others. And the idea of learned helplessness is that it occurs when we hang on to our past failures and we use them to justify what will happen in the future. So it's like when we essentially teach ourselves that our efforts and our actions and our attitudes don't matter because whatever happens is going to happen anyways. So the idea of learned helplessness is that we have no hope, right? Life just happens and we're reacting to it. So really the answer to learned helplessness is to move away from this disempowered perspective by adopting a resilient mindset. So seeing resiliency as an option. When we practice resiliency, we use our perspective to see our struggles as opportunities for growth rather than looking at the tough times that we've had and using them as excuses and reasons why we can predict the future, stay small, stay scared, and not try anymore, right? So the same experience can happen to two people, but they can meet it with a different perspective, which gives a totally different outcome, right? So one person could go on vacation and gain 10 pounds because they ate lots of food and drank lots of alcohol and be like, oh my God, I suck. I can never get this right. This is never going to work for me. Or the other person can go on vacation and gain 10 pounds and be like, okay, well, I did that. I know that the actions that I had, reality of fat loss is if I eat lots of tortilla chips and drink lots of beers in Mexico, I'm going to gain weight, right? I've done that before. That's what happens. That's reality. We can get mad. We can argue. We can let ourselves have a disempowered mindset about it, or we can be like, whew, we know that doesn't work. Back on the bus we go. Here we go. Get into it and actively choose the perspective that's going to help to motivate us, right? One of my clients, this is so funny, when we really started to get into working on our perspective work, she would say, this is so weird. I feel like I'm cheerleading myself all day. And I pretty much screamed when she told me that, because that's exactly what I feel like you have to do, right? If you want this empowered mindset and you want to do the opposite of playing the victim card, you're totally cheerleading yourself, right? Sometimes I feel like I get up and I'm like, whew, looking on the bright side. I'm standing 6 feet above ground today. Okay, here we go, right? You're always looking for the silver lining. You're always looking for the upside. You're always looking for the growth from something like, oh, that sucks. I got in a car accident in November. What can I learn from this? Maybe I need to pay attention more to the sides of the road because I hit a deer, right? Maybe I need to whatever. There's tons of turnarounds that I got from it. I ended up buying a new car that I like even more. So that was like a turnaround. Hey, there's an opportunity. Maybe, I want to pay off my car loan faster so that I don't feel stressed when I have to buy a new car. All these sorts of things. There's turnarounds instead of feeling like like we're a victim and things just happen to us. Okay. So moving on to our final tool of the night here so that we have enough time for questions, beating your inner victim. So this is a big one. So really, being a victim is like anytime we blame something else or someone else for our own circumstances or the circumstances we find ourselves in, we're playing the victim. Remember, we all do this. It's totally not about playing the victim, about being the victim, which means like, woe is me, I'm playing the victim, help me, I don't know what to do. That's not at all what this is about. It's about awareness, right? So we're being aware that we all play the victim card, at least sometimes, some of us more than others. It's super, super common to slip into victim mode when we're changing our nutrition and exercise habits, right? Remember that unfairness thing? Like, oh, I'm doing a weight loss program with my husband and he lost this much weight and I didn't. That's us playing the victim card, right? Woe is me. He's having a better experience than I am. It's super easy to blame others and blame external circumstances for why we aren't being successful. Like things like there was no time for me to get my workout in. There was traffic, so I missed my boot camp. I forgot my lunch, so I had to go have pizza. I was too tired from not having enough sleep, so I couldn't get my workout in. I got invited out instead, so I couldn't make my healthy lunch for the next day, right? Those are all totally real, normal things that we do. The point is they don't help us stay in action to do the things that we know are going to help to see us get results, right? That's playing the victim card, right? Shit happens and then we use it as an excuse. We're not playing the victim about being the victim. We're just realizing what it is. It's not about relinquishing responsibility at all. And the idea is that this will make you understand this point a little bit more. Let's pretend that you're going to your workout class, right? And your best friend is supposed to pick you up, right? And then she doesn't want to go to the workout class and she's your ride, so you don't get to go to your workout. So we can blame her, right? And we can be like, oh, it's her fault that I didn't get to go to my workout. Because like it kind of is her fault, right? She said she was going to come pick you up, but you're faced with the situation that you're faced with. So the fact about you playing the victim about this is it's not about the other person. It's about the situation you find yourself in and what you're going to do about it. You can sit on the couch, you can cry, you can make her be the bad guy, you can get all mad, you can play the victim about it, or like it was her fault, right? She didn't want to go to the workout. She didn't pick you up. You're totally a victim of the circumstance, but you don't have to play the victim of the circumstance. Maybe you're at home. Could you do push-ups? Could you do squats? It's not going to be as good of a workout as you would have gotten at the gym with the equipment and the music and all that stuff, but it's better than nothing, right? That's the empowered mindset. That's doing the turnaround. Beating your inner victim is about you, right? It's about us. It's not about the other person. We've all done the blame game, and then we just are in the same situation anyways, right? Because when we play the victim, we have no power. We're playing on the defense. We do not stay in action, and we end up being reactive, right? Instead of proactive and doing this turnaround and trying to create something really great from it. So we always have a choice as to whether or not we play the victim. You first have to recognize it, right? Your friend says, I'm not coming to pick you up for workout tonight. I don't feel like going. I'm sitting on the couch. So, and then we do the, oh, woe is me. Like it's her fault that I can't go to my workout. We recognize that we're doing that. That's the first step. Then the second point, we have to choose a different way of acting. Like, oh, that really sucks, but I'm going to work out anyways with no equipment in my gym or in my apartment that's 200 square feet in my closet, whatever. And then we move on, right? Because we can totally stay mad at our friend. It's that idea of like holding the hot coal with the idea of throwing it at someone, but who actually gets burned? We do, right? So playing the victim affects us more than it affects other people. Super important distinction. So really, this isn't about feeling bad for playing the victim card. That's just a distraction, right? When we try to do, I'm playing the victim. Oh, what's wrong with me? Why am I doing that again? You're just distracting yourself from moving on. Notice it, get over it, and move on. Put the effort into staying in action, right? So when we start really practicing responsibility for everything that we do, we can start to move on. Things just don't get us down as much. We always search for the ability to not play the victim, right? We always search for the ability to play the empowered mindset. It's a total turnaround. It takes practice. It takes effort. The thing is that you may be dealing with what I was dealing with, which is this idea that like a couple years ago, I was totally living my entire life in victim mode. I was a victim of, what my boyfriend said to me. I'm not saying that he said mean things. I'm just saying I took them really personally, right? So I was a victim about that. I was a victim about the fact that I was working 60 hours a week and teaching 1 million fitness classes and up at 5 a.m. and going to bed at 11 p.m. Guess who chose my schedule? I did, right? So I was a victim of my own choices even. I was a victim of all of these things. And the thing is, at that point, it actually felt kind of good to be the victim, right? Like I would go out with my friends and they'd be like, I'm exhausted. And they'd all be like, oh yeah, it's because you work so hard. And I totally did work hard. But the victim mindset becomes addictive because it's kind of like an attention grabber, right? Like I totally got lots of attention for being a hard worker. I got lots of attention for teaching 1 million fitness classes. Oh, that's crazy. I can't believe you do that. I'm not saying it's bad or good. I just like played it up because I felt like, hey, this is kind of nice that I'm exhausted and people actually think that it's like a good thing. But then at the end of the day, I was the one going home being sad, feeling exhausted, and never having any energy or effort to actually enjoy the things that I wanted to do. So it takes a lot of practice, and it took me a lot of practice to move past this one. And it started with me just noticing it, right? I'd be like, oh, I'm exhausted. Do I need to tell everyone how exhausted I am? No, I don't. I'm going to listen to their day instead, right? I would get over it and then I would move on. Took a lot of time to get to that point, like years of practicing. So in conclusion, before we get into some question time here, mindset work extends far past getting lean, right? I've told you, it really affected my relationship with my friends, with my family, with my husband, for sure. I feel like I'm a lot happier now, and as a result, they're a lot happier too. They don't have to deal with someone who's complaining all the time, put it that way. I still complain, but not nearly as much. Nutrition and exercise are the gateway to really having this big mindset shift, right? We see the value in changing our mindset with all these little nutrition tips and tricks and tools. And then we begin to realize how our mindset change actually affects our entire life. But in turn, we also realize how our entire life and our perspective and our mindset affects our nutrition and exercise habits, right? If I'm complaining about my schedule and my work and how tired and exhausted I am, it's hard for me to have an empowered mindset around eating well and exercising, right? I didn't have time to make anything healthy before. That was what I told myself, right? But I was just playing the victim card of a schedule that I created for myself. It's crazy, I know. And then you simply cannot see a sustainable body change without a change in your mindset, right? I told you about this before. I totally lost weight before. I'd lose 10 pounds and then I'd gain it all back again. I'm sure a lot of you guys can resonate with that because I didn't have the change in mindset. It's not about losing the weight. It's about losing the mindset that got you to the weight that you are, right? Victim mindset, disempowered mindset, feeling like this perspective of woe is me and nothing I do is going to make a difference. It's totally the opposite. When we change our perspective and our mindset, we start to see how much power we actually do have over our results. And remember, always, playing the victim card is an expressway. It's like taking the freeway, the fast version, to a disempowered mindset. You're totally going to do it. I still do it. But the least often you can play the victim, the more often you are going to be able to stay in action about those 6 things, right? The reality of fat loss. The less I play a victim in my relationship with my husband, the less effort I have to deal with being mad or sad or frustrated with him, the more effort I can put into enjoying what I eat, going to the gym, not playing the victim in that area of my life. Everything totally crosses over. It's all related. All right, guys. Woo! That was a big one. How are we doing? Hands up if you're still with me. Yes, nice. Awesome. That's great. I'm just going to lower your hands here. And you can see that little question box down at the bottom here. Oh, okay. If you guys have any questions, type them into the box. I'm totally happy to keep recording and keep hanging out here and answer some questions. I want you to remember this one thing about the mindset sort of distinctions that we're talking about. For me, I struggled with the victim mindset for a really long time. And because it never actually goes away, we just get better at staying in action with it and figuring out how we can take responsibility for it all. I want you to go deep with your questions, right? A lot of the victim mode stuff I had was around my husband being away, right? He's away all the time and it sucks and I'm lonely and woe is me, those sorts of things, right? The sooner I really dealt with that stuff and was hey, I'm choosing to be in a relationship with this guy, right? What's the reality? The reality is he's gone more than half the time. Okay, I can complain about it, which I totally still do sometimes, for sure. I'm a human. Or I can be hey, I get a lot of alone time. I get to stretch out in bed and I don't have to listen to someone snoring or whatever, right? There's always turnarounds. And I think I spend a lot less effort now being sad about it so that I can actually spend more time being in action about the stuff that really matters to me. Awesome. Okay, Carrie Ann said this is so good. I'm going to listen to it a million times. Thank you to infinity. You are very, very welcome. At the very beginning of our webinar, guys, I told you about this 10-week mindset makeover that I'm going to be promoting next week. Don't worry about it. I'm going to tell you a lot of information about it. I'm going to give you a lot more information about what exactly it entails. If you're interested and you want to send me a note, you can feel free to do that, or you can ask on the Facebook group. And I'm going to be sharing a lot more insights and specific things that I got from the 10-week mindset makeover. It's totally not something that you have to purchase in order to stay in the lifestyle club. It's a total value-added thing. It's for me, I saw value in it because it's so much deeper and more detailed and a hand-holding journey than I could ever provide you in the mindset realm. And Jill really is the best in the world at this kind of stuff. So if you at all liked this webinar, Jill's information is this times 10, in my opinion. And it's really, really changed my life. So I will give you guys lots of information about that. All right. So I don't have any more questions coming up here, but thank you for listening. Feel free to keep asking on the Facebook group. We still have another week left in our mindset month. So I hope that you guys have seen some changes in yourself and are starting to see the power of mindset, and that you really get to determine your destiny, and you get to you have a say in how life goes for yourself, really, right? You don't have a say in fate and, if it rains or how long you're even going to be on the planet. Let's get super deep here. But you do have a say in your experience while you're here, and I'm super passionate about sharing that with you guys. So that's what this is all about. Nice. All right, guys. Have a good evening. Thanks for coming, and I'll talk to you soon.